paragraph, here's what we just did, here's what just happened. So in order to do that, I would need your email address. So if you would like to receive this update via email, I would love to add you to my email list as I endeavor to come into this century. So if it's okay, I'm going to just send out a notepad over here, notepad here, and we'll reach over there to y'all in a minute. Is that okay? Either put your email address and name, or just pass it on. And either one will be fine. Brother Dan.
All right, most of you is full, so let's stand and use our voices to praise the Lord. We're going to sing a song. You may not recognize the name of the song. It's Teach Me, O Lord, I Pray. It's the tune to crown him with many crowns. We'll sing the first and last stanza.
Good evening. It's good to see y'all tonight. I am thankful to our gracious pastor who is allowing me to do this. Thank you very much. I really haven't talked to you much over the last few years about what I do or what it looks like. Y'all just kind of notice when I'm here and when I'm gone, and pray for me faithfully, and I thank you for that. What I'd like to do is give you a brief overview of what it is that I do, and then the ministry that I'm involved with, and then I want to talk to you about this last trip because we were very involved with it as a church, and I'm very thankful for it. So first, let me talk a little bit about what my role is. I am the director of the World Hope Bible Institute for East Africa. So I have oversight of approximately 190, not approximately, as of this morning, 197 Bible Institute locations throughout 8 countries. We have about 4,300 students enrolled in our Bible Institutes. So that's a daunting task in that we're a real Bible Institute, a real theological institution, and that involves registering of classes, it involves oversight and scheduling, it involves working with my national leaders, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'll tell you just a little bit about that as I talk about these locations. Each location is a freestanding Bible Institute location, and it is operated by the local leaders on the ground. So, and that's one of the coolest things I think about the whole thing is that it's not a bunch of Americans who are running this stuff. We're using Africans who serve on a council, who agree to a charter with our Bible Institute, and then we work together with them to maintain the scheduling of their classes. We teach 16 theological courses. Now, I am not a theologian. I am always amazed as I listen to Brother Michael, who, by the way, is a theologian. Okay, I know one when I see one, and I'm telling you, he is wonderful with that. I am actually more of an administrator than I am a theologian, although I do love to teach and I do love to explain God's Word. I think maybe some of y'all think that the majority of what I do is just I go over there about 6 or 8 times a year and teach. And that's the fun stuff. Okay? That's the fun stuff of what I do. What I do most of my day, and pretty much every day, is I work with the leadership structure that we've been able to put in place, and God has blessed us, we've made it successful in East Africa, where I have 6 associate directors who work underneath of me who are all African. They're the boots on the ground. They're the guys that make sure that everything flows smoothly. We teach these 16 courses over a period of 2.5 years. We won't let anyone teach more frequently than every 4 months. So they teach 2 classes every 4 months. There's a reason for that. What we're teaching is so foundational and so fundamental that we want them to take what they've just learned, which is going to be about 12 hours of teaching. We want them to take this and turn around and preach it in their churches. Our goal is not just to train pastors. In fact, in the heart of our literature, it says that we train pastors, which grows churches, which transforms communities. And that's what our goal is, ultimately, is a transformed community through the gospel, through trained pastors, and growing churches. So that's our goal in this whole process. My job is to help it go smoothly, facilitate it, and also make sure that we're doing what we say we do. That we're being accurate and honest in what we do. So I have 6 leaders on the ground, Africans, who oversee some almost 200 locations. We teach 3 times a year for every location, so that is 600 times a year, and that's 1,200 courses because we teach 2 courses at a time. So we teach 1,200 courses every year. Hey, guess what? I can't do that. I can't do 1,200 courses. In fact, when I go, I normally teach 2 courses at one location and maybe 2 courses at another location. I'll tell you about that in just a minute. So that would mean that if I could do 4 3 times a year, that's 12. I only need another 120 U.S. pastors to be going 3 times a year. Well, that isn't happening. That doesn't happen. So how do we get this done? How do we teach 1,200 courses to these pastors and leaders throughout East Africa? We use national instructors. So, and again, I love this. Our council is Africans who make sure that the institute is operational. Then we use African instructors that we've trained and vetted. And I say that is an and an or on the trained and vetted. So every instructor we have has either graduated from the World Hope Bible Institute or an appropriate theological institution where they've received a bachelor's degree or higher. So we vet every instructor we have. I have about 80 African instructors right now that I have oversight of, that I give oversight for and I care for. We have about 15 regional coordinators, and they work underneath those associate directors. So are you beginning to see a leadership structure take place here? What we have is we have one person, me, who is making sure that none of the wheels fall off. And that's what I do. I troubleshoot. I make sure that things are going smoothly. I make sure that everyone is taken care of. I facilitate the scheduling of classes. We do pay our instructors. That's raised by World Hope Ministries International, but it's a stipend. They don't get a salary. They get a stipend every time they teach. So they go out. It's a modest stipend. I know of no U.S. instructor that will work for it before we pay them, but it's a modest stipend. But we pay them a stipend, and it's all it is really is to reimburse their travel and their expenses while they're out teaching, and that's all it is. Our associate directors receive a stipend that is more of a pay, but it's still a minimal and nominal amount. This structure helps us be able to oversee this growing organization that we have. Let me explain that. When I started in January of 2021, we had 37 Bible Institute locations, and only about 15 were operational. Since then, we've grown to 197 as of this morning Bible Institute locations, with almost all of them operational at this moment and functioning. That's not about me. That's about God's design, God's structure, and godly men who are accomplishing this task. You know what? I'm just the point of the spear, okay? That's all I am. I have an incredible team of leaders that I work with. But if you know much about leadership, you know that in order to have a great team of leaders, you have to have a relationship with those leaders. You have to be involved with their life. You have to care for them, and you have to invest in them. And the majority of my time is spent either preparing financial reports, submitting financial requests, scheduling classes, working with instructors, and then building, developing, and maintaining the relationship with these African leaders. So when I'm at home, quite honestly, I'm 5 times more busy than I am when I'm on the field. When I'm on the field, it's like, whew, all I have to do today is teach. Isn't this awesome? I get to teach for 8 hours, and that's all. This is wonderful, you know. When I'm at home, it's a lot of work. That's why you don't see me hanging around the coffee shop. If you want to find me, you're going to find me upstairs at my house where my office is, because that's where the real work takes place. One of the things that I do, and you may or may not be aware of this, but my doctoral work is in educational leadership. That's what I have. I have an MRE in Christian education and an MRE in pastoral counseling, but my doctoral work is in educational leadership. So part of what I do is I interview, listen to, at least once every 3 years, and I'm trying to make it 2, interview, listen to every one of my national instructors. Last year I went to every country where we had national instructors. I gathered them together. I made the name slip. Likert. I made a Likert scale. I put it together to evaluate. I brought outside evaluators to come with me, and we evaluated their teaching based on their ability, on their knowledge of the material, and on their ability to relate to the class. So I evaluated every one of my instructors. My plan is to do that every 3 years, and in the intermediary times have my leaders on the ground be doing CEs, continuing education, with the other. I take what we do very, very seriously, and I'll tell you why. 92% of Africans have no theological education. None. But you can't imagine how blessed you are to live in a country where you can turn on the radio, turn on the television, come to church and hear a pastor who knows how to break the Word of God, who knows how to open the Scripture and teach you from it because he has studied to show himself approved, a workman that needeth not reproach, rightly dividing the word of truth. That doesn't happen. I was reading... Oh, by the way, I also view every report from every class that's taught. I did that this morning. I reviewed 91 reports this morning. They're not small. They're quite long. And they have testimony time. They have reaction time. They have curriculum information on it. And so I reviewed 91 of those this morning. And I loved what I read in one of those that said, it was on expository preaching, Pastor. And he said, we had no idea we didn't know how to preach. We are thrilled we now know how to preach. And we're going to go back and preach rightly in our villages, you know. I had another report just this morning. I was looking at it, and he said, I was teaching in a group. This was in northern Sudan, in a town called Maiwut, South Sudan rather, in Maiwut. And he said, we went and taught in Maiwut, and the crowd was mixed. We had mostly Christian pastors, but we also invited Muslims to come. I think this is great. They invited Muslims to come and listen to the theological training. And we had 4 of the Muslims come to accept Christ in this. Muslims getting saved in a Bible Institute location. I love it. We have a program on our fifth session term that we teach, class number 9, and it's called Missiology and Evangelism, and we teach pastors how to share their faith and to share the gospel. Almost all of them have never personally shared their faith. All they know about anything about sharing their faith is to stand up and preach the messages they've heard the prosperity preachers preach on television. That's all they know. We share with them how to share their faith, and at the end of that, we give them a practicum. And we ask them to go out into the community and share their faith, to do what we've asked them to do. Last year, in the last calendar year, we had over 850 people come to know Christ through these practicums alone. Transforming communities is what we do. And so what I do is I'm there to make sure that the quality control is there, that everything is operating the way it should, that nothing gets bogged down, that the system goes smoothly, that these pastors get trained. Oh, by the way, that they get the curriculum that they need, that we have to send to them and prepare for them, so that everything that is involved in theological education will run smoothly. And that's what I do. And if I bored you, I apologize for that. I just wanted you to know, when you see my truck sitting in my yard, I want you to know what I'm doing while my truck is sitting in my yard. You have been faithful to support us the whole time we've been on the field, and I want to thank you for that. But more than just support me, you have, and support our ministry, you've engaged in our ministry. In July, we took off and went to Uganda, and we went back a ways. If you heard our team talk, they talked about the terrible roads and how hard it was to get there, and it was all those things. But we had a wonderful time as we helped build a children's home, a home for young ladies. And then we did, while they were doing that, because I am actually mechanically pitiful. Daddy told me one time, he said, son, it's a good thing you can preach, because if you couldn't, you'd starve to death. And I appreciated him building me up like that, making me feel so warm and fuzzy. But the truth of the matter is, I can't build. I'm no good at it. I can haul stuff. If you need me to tote something, I can do that. But that's it. I'm not a Jeff Cooper. I respect Jeff Cooper and guys. Man, that's so incredible. I thank the Lord for what He does. That's not what I do. But let me tell you, while they were there building a children's home, me and Mike's son-in-law and 2 other guys from a church in Lubbock, we went to a local church and we taught 2 courses. We used the gifts that God had given us. It does take everybody. You're exactly right. And so we used our gifts, and that's what I love to do. And so we did that. You sent a team. You did that. You built a wonderful relationship with Moses O'Wheely and the children at the children's home. But I asked you a couple of weeks ago on a Wednesday night, and hey, I need it by Sunday. Could we get some clothes? We're going to go to an after-school children's program, and I want to share with you. I want to share that a little bit. And I want to share something from Thaxton Baptist. And so I asked for 50 sets of clothes. I have 2 tubs worth of clothes still at my house that we could not get there. And we took over 70 sets of clothes to Ethiopia. So thank you. Man, if I'd have given you a week, I wouldn't have been able to, I don't know what we'd have got done. So thank you so much. I want to show you a little bit about that Ethiopia trip because there were 3 things that were significant about it. And I got the thumbs up that we're good. So we'll start with Ethiopia Mission 2025. Great. We'll go to that next slide. The first thing we did was teaching. And we taught in 2 locations. I taught in 2 locations. And in that process of teaching, I also took 2 new U.S. instructors with me and trained them as well in our processes and the way we taught. Now, don't go any farther than that. We'll hold right there. So we had, what you saw was 2 different locations. That's me teaching in 2 different locations right there. Actually, that's all the same location. And then the next picture is going to be of both locations. We had about 42 students in one location and 50 in the other, pastors and leaders. And this is in the city of Addis Ababa. We had a team come from my son's church over in North Carolina, and we had a 30-year-old young guy. I loved him. He was great. He never could say Addis Ababa. He said it was Adidas Ababa. Adidas Ababa. Called it Adidas Ababa the whole time. But he was great. But we spent 24 hours of teaching time in our teaching in these 2 locations. So we taught 2 locations twice. I taught expository preaching and ecclesiology, the doctrine of the church. And those are the 2 things that we taught in 2 major neighborhoods. Let me tell you a little bit about Addis Ababa. I won't take long. I wasn't going to take nearly this long, but Pastor said take as long as you want to. And so, okay. So, so what? Oh, and Jeff left. Oh, man. So Addis Ababa is a city of 7 million people. 7 million people. So you'll understand in Africa right now, 60% of the entire population of Africa is located in cities. It's become urbanized. And if you're going to reach the people, you're going to have to reach the cities. It's incredible to go to a beam, to the village in Uganda. And village life is an incredible, warm, hospitable life. Addis Ababa is a major city with 7 million people, and it is jammed all the time. Thank you so much. It is jammed. Thank you. I take all that back. Thank you. It's jammed. It's jammed with people. And so both of these locations were in neighborhoods inside of Addis Ababa. We have 16 Bible Institute locations in Addis Ababa alone, and another 12 scattered throughout the country. So this is where we taught, 42 in one, 50 in another. But in addition to that, we worked with local churches. And that's one of the things, we can go to that next slide. We work with local churches, and I want to kind of show you what you're going to be seeing in this local church. One of the churches where we did a Bible Institute location, we're ready for that next slide, was Temple of God International Church. So International Church is kind of like almost like a denomination in Africa, and so they're churches that cross national borders is what they are. And Temple of God International Church is a wonderful church. We taught there, we preached there, and we got to know them. And I really hope that one day, you'll remember we started and considered 3 locations. You remember that? We considered Belize, we considered Uganda, and we considered Ethiopia. And we did 2. Well, I'd love for one day to do the 3rd and to work with the Temple of God International Church. What you're looking at right now, which is kind of hard to see, is 2 rooms that are in the kind of the back half of the church property. Got to think in terms of cities where everything goes up and you have little land, okay? You just have very little land. But here on this piece of property, you have the church at the front, You have a fellowship hall and an administration building that's 4 stories high, and then behind that, in a little squared off area, is some rooms. And what this church has done has developed a street ministry to rescue sex-trafficked people. And that's what you're looking at. This on the left. Oh, it's on the right. Those on the left, I'm looking at it backwards. Those on the right, and you barely can make that up. That's a woman laying there. That's women who were trafficked in Addis Ababa, and they rescued them from their traffickers, and they gave them a home and a place to get established until they can get back on their feet, find a job, and live a normal life. So they provide beds, the ability to wash, have food, have bathing, have everything they need to live, and they provide that for them as a ministry from their church. And they go out every day into the streets, and they witness to and share the gospel with these trafficked women. That day that we were there, 2 of those women came forward and gave their life to Christ that day in the morning worship services. It was beautiful. On the right, that's for the men who are also trafficked in Addis Ababa. We sometimes think that only happens on one sex, but it's just not so. It's a horrible dilemma. And so those tiny little rooms, if I could describe them to you, it would be from Sister Laura, Shelley, back there to maybe Cindy, over to Barbara, Regina, Dusty. That size, that's the size of those rooms. And they have about 40 people in each room that they house in there. And they're constantly turning them over. Let's go to the next slide. They have another room. And that's the family room. These are families that were on the street and had no hope, had no place to go. And they built a similar room, but about twice the size. And they house families, as you can see on the right-hand side there, left-hand side. On the left-hand side, you can see families, mothers, children. That's one family there. And they were on the streets a few days ago. And I'm thinking about this church. Can I tell you how much funding this church gets from the United States? None. They do every bit of this because God has called them to do this, to reach out to the hurting and the hopeless. And I'm going to find some team somewhere, I don't know. I'm finding some team somewhere to go back and help them build more space, find a way to redesign, find a way to bring more people in. So another thing that we did was we worked with these local ministries as they were reaching out into the streets. The third thing we did, which will be coming up in just a moment, is we took your gifts. Can you see? I don't know how clearly you can see. I may have made the picture too small. On the right-hand side, you're going to see those are all the clothes that you sent. Somebody, I won't name who, but I'm married to, organized all of them into sizes. And she put together outfits. All of those tubs are still filled. Those were all filled as well as all of that. That's what we sent. And Andrew's in the back there. Andrew had the suitcase and the 2 duffels in the back, and from his church. And so we put together about 120 outfits all together that we took to these people. These are where your gifts went to. Wait for it. Remember how I told you how everything is so compact and compressed? This is a Bine, and I'll show you him in a minute. But a Bine's house and his ministry, Abine worked for Compassion International for 14 years. He was very successful. He felt God laid on his heart to reach out to the kids in his neighborhood that had nothing. And so he began a ministry for after-school training and feeding after school. His wife began to make meals, and she made upward to 300 meals every day for these children. She made them herself. He retired from Compassion International, took all of his retirement, bought this piece of property, and has invested himself in this ministry for the last 14 years. I don't want to stand behind him at the pearly gates. He leveraged his whole life to invest in these kids. And these kids were incredible. It's another long courtyard that goes to the front gate, and that's where the kids all come in. We'll go to that next one, because I want you to see a few of them. There were some particularly interesting things about his ministry. First, cares for the throwaways. You see the little boy in the Emirates? He's in a wheelchair. There aren't any ramps. There isn't any special abilities. It's rock mountainous. Addis Ababa sits at 7,000 feet above sea level. He cares for these kids that everyone else says they need to be thrown away. The little boy, the second little boy with my friend Todd Wheeler, he special needs. He's mentally handicapped. No one cares for them. No one's interested in them. They'll never be a productive element of society, so they're thrown away. This is my son Andrew. He's with the Bine there, the man who runs this ministry. And then this little girl right here in the wheelchair captured my heart. She's probably about 14. She's paralyzed from the waist down. She's incontinent. There are no catheters. There are no adult diapers. It's just life. Can I tell you what they did when they got our clothes? My son elbowed me and said, "Look behind you, Dad." And so I turned around and looked, and here's what they did. They were sniffing them. You had washed those clothes. And they smelled of Tide. They smelled of Gain. They have one uniform that they'll wear 5 days to school, and their mother will wash it on the weekend. And if they're lucky, they'll have one other set of clothes. And that's what they have. And as much as they clutched those clothes and loved those clothes, they had them smelling what clean clothes smelled like. It blew me away. Let's go to that next slide if we can. I want you to, these are just a few of the people. I don't know, I think it was Kim Gillum, but I'm not positive. Kim, I think it was you. But somebody sent that pink, fluffy, was that you? Oh my goodness, it was the hit of the program. Everybody was envious of that little girl with the little pink, fluffy dress that everybody loved. And I just wanted you to just look at the souls. If you'll look to your far left, you'll see that Abine as well is ministering to Muslims and reaching out to them as well. Not only did we give them all these clothes, but we then gave them a feast. My team and I, from my account, contributed, and we fed 70 kids plus their parents. We gave them the best meal they'd had all week and something they never get. They got a hamburger and French fries. Big old hamburger and French fries, and then they put me on candy detail, and I got to walk around and hand out candy, and I was the most popular dude in the whole place. I think I have one more slide. I'm not sure, but I think I do. I don't? That's it. So that's what we did. We taught pastors so that they would grow churches and transform their communities. We invested with local churches and local ministries. And we became the hands and feet of Christ to a hurting group of people who needed love. We were able to do that because of your gifts, because of your support. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much, Pastor.